Jesse in Studio K.
Well, this morning we are fortunate enough to be joined by a true pro. Doctor, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. A political science professor from Missouri Southern. I feel like you're the appropriate person to have here, Doc. So, I mean, when we talk about the presidential race, it can be exhausting. I want to zero in on Senate races now, which, there was one in Kansas.
Yes, so let's see, the election between Marshall and Boyer.
Right. So what should tell me where to go. Tell me why we're looking at a result like this.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, historically, to have Marshall, the Republican, win is something, kind of we would predict, but the degree to which Boyer was competitive and really, I think, had the ability to generate support behind, right, a national, right, Democratic elected official is very, very interesting. I mean, it also is true that Kansas has a history of electing Democratic officials, right, for statewide races. So this is something to kind of maybe, pay attention to in the sense that a more moderate Democratic, right, candidate could, in fact, right, get significant support in a state that tends to be, fairly conservative and Republican.
Right. Well, we saw that with Governor Kelly being elected.
Yes.
So, I mean, is Kansas heading in that direction? Does it stop at a certain point? I mean, what do you sort of see in terms of voting behavior?
Well, I mean, I would probably think that Kansas will stay fairly, Republican and conservative, which matches well with what we're seeing here on the map.
Right.
But I think it is true also that Kansas has kind of a history of at least being committed to some Democratic policy ideas, like, for example, public funding of education, et cetera, that could, over time maybe lead to, right, more Democratic support. And then, of course, in the northeast part of the state, as we're seeing here, you've got counties and voters who, in fact, right, have that Democratic sensibility. So
is there another Senate race that sticks out to you?
I think another one would be in Colorado, if we have the
Mr. Hickenlooper.
Yes, the kind of the
former mayor of Denver.
Yes, right, a person who kind of essentially takes over, right? And so it's a flip, right, for the Democrats in that sense.
And why does that happen? I think now people look at a place like Colorado, and I think people really, they might not be questioning a result like this. But is that just because of such a change of the identity of the state in the last 15 years?
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's very much become more ideologically liberal and thus, right, kind of more for partisan purposes democratic.
Right.
Colorado also has, right, some within state policy, right, changes, right, that I think kind of mirror, right, its democratic sensibilities. I also think, right, that population centers like, in Denver, et cetera, right, are growing. So that for the Democrats to gain a seat, right, in the Senate kind of benefits them, at least going forward, depending on what happens with the U.S. president.
But it's still even in the Senate. There's
right. There hasn't really been any major shift such that one party would be benefited versus another. So, but I just want to make sure that we were also kind of getting the opportunity to talk about the Senate, because that's something that's also up for re-election this year.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will continue our conversation about this election, and we're going to do some meditation actually, because I don't know about you, but we just need a moment to breathe. So we'll be back with a moment to breathe on the KOA Morning News on Fox 14 after this.